Hi, Neve. Cool. All right. So we want to find a comfortable seat. Anchoring the tail down. You can shut down. Ooh, I got to put in my mic. Okay. All right. Put in the mic. Anchoring the tail down, relaxing the shoulders. You can shut down the eyes if that feels safe to you. You can also keep them open. And taking a moment to connect to your breath and just scan the body. Notice where you're at today. And we'll take a couple clearing breaths and one round of Om to start out class. And I chant Om to connect us through sound and resonance and vibration. And we can't share a space in that capacity anymore, but we're still all Oming at the same time, even in our respective locations. So we're still connecting in that way, even if it's just in a different form than we were used to. So finding a comfortable seat. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale HA out of the mouth. Inhale in through the nose. And exhale HA. Release. This time, inhale, prepare for one Om. Om. Inhale in. And exhale, let the breath go. And we'll go ahead and start class today in Balasana, Child's Pose. Bringing the toes to touch. Knees can be extended or they can also be together, arms out long in front of you or at your sides. And I'm going to do some of the poses with you throughout the class, but some of them I'm going to talk a little bit through, like this one. I'll go ahead and come into a child's pose briefly just as a demonstration, but then I am going to come out of the posture and talk us through yin. And yin is the opposite of yang. So it's going to be darkness. It is the element of mystery. It's where we follow and cultivate our intuition. It's more of a practice of yielding and allowing and receptivity. And it's also associated with more of rest and regenerative qualities. And I think a lot of us are really being asked to tap into a lot of those qualities right now with the state of the world. And I think it's also a state where the earth was kind of asking us to do that. So really taking this full hour to try and embody those qualities. And there are 3 truths or 3 tattvas, 3 pillars to the foundation of this practice. And the first is to meet your gentle edge, which you've already met. And it may not be as deep as you would go in a vinyasa class because we want to be able to hold it for time, sustain the hold for a length of time. And so when you do arrive at your edge, just noticing and checking in with yourself, like, okay, could I be here for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, even 7 minutes? And if the answer is, ooh, no, maybe pulling the edge back. And then after we meet our edge, the second pillar, our tattva, is to be still. And there are 2 reasons in which you would move in this practice. And the first is if you're experiencing any pain. And pain is a sharp sensation, a stabbing sensation, a burning sensation. And the reason I list adjectives to describe pain is because I think we're kind of taught to kind of like hurdle through the pain, like, oh, if it's painful, it's working, you know, that sort of mentality. And that's definitely like not what we want to be doing here. So if any of those sensations are going on, pulling the edge back or grabbing a pillow or grabbing a book and creating a makeshift prop, or if you have a block or a bolster, using it. And even tingling sensations we want to avoid because it could cause nerve damage. And then the other reason you would move is if you're invited to go deeper. And so we've already been in this hold for a little bit. You might be invited to follow your edge. And if you are invited deeper, like absolutely move deeper into the posture. And then the third thing is to hold for time. And I keep track of time on my phone right here. And this is the one posture where it's a little more loosey-goosey. I don't really give a halfway mark or a final minute. But all the other ones, I give a halfway mark and a final minute. And this is kind of just to ease your mind. So you know, okay, we're halfway done. And then like the final minute, like it gives you an idea. So you can really just surrender and practice yin. And with the exception of this pose and the next pose, I'm going to do a forward fold, and I'm going to kind of leave it up to you. And this morning, I don't know, for some reason, when I was drinking coffee and I was trying to figure out what to post to Instagram, actually, I started reading about fascia. And I've learned a lot about fascia over time, and we've studied it. I studied it with the Practice School of Magic in the Dark Side of the Moon training, and also in the Vinyasa training. And it had been a while since I had really like sat down and thought about it. So I'm going to share the information that I found today, and it might be a little more anatomical than you want to hear. So if it's too much anatomy, you can really just tune it out. But sometimes I feel like just hearing things passively is a really good way to like get the information initially in your brain so it can kind of sponge it up. And so the next time you learn it, it comes faster, I've found. So option today to really listen in on fascia. And then in terms of just briefly the benefits of yin, you're stressing and compressing the connective tissue, the ligaments, the bones, and the joints. And we access those connective tissues and those yin tissues in a different way than we access our muscles, which are going to be the more yang tissues of our bodies. And it's through these long holds, or perhaps if you have like a myofascial release therapist or a practice or like massage therapist, there's other ways to access it as well. But yin is such a good way to do the work. And also I feel like each posture is its own little meditation. So after I'm done talking about the fascia, I'm going to leave you to practice in silence and use each posture as a practice of meditation and focusing the mind. And the only other thing I will add, two more things. When you do arrive in this stillness and you give yourself that space, try to invite in qualities of kindness and compassion, more curiosity. And when you come up and out of the posture, which we'll be doing here pretty shortly, it can really feel like a lot. Sometimes, especially now that I know that like the microphone is muting, I might like be like, oh, like after, like I might like release a groan, and it's that kind of like sensation. You may feel like you fast forward like 50 years into the future, and that's normal. You're going to bounce back very quickly, and it's also speaking to the effectiveness of what we're doing here. All right. And gently over the next 5 breaths or so. And there is no reason to rush. Really move slowly and deliberately and with intention. Rise up into a tabletop, stacking the shoulders over the wrists and the hips over the knees. Kind of just finding a sense of spinal neutrality. And doing any counter movement that the body is asking for. So after all that compression, it might feel good to extend the legs behind you, kicking one leg, the other leg. It may feel good to flow through cat and cow or roll the shoulders. Whatever the body is asking for. And then let the hips sink off to one side. And before we get into the other postures that I wanted to practice tonight, I thought we would forward fold. And there's a lot of really good forward folds. And I know people tend to favorite one posture or another. So you can do Supta Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet to touch, and remembering in yin that we definitely want a lot more distance in between the pelvis and the heels than we would one in a vinyasa practice. Or if you want to do caterpillar or paschimottanasana, moving the glutes out from underneath you and really letting the chest round forward, the head hang heavy. We don't want this to be active. We want all the muscles to be very passive, and this would be a good opportunity to grab a pillow, creating a little shelf for yourself, or maybe even a couple pillows, or you can create some sort of inventive ramp situation, stacking them up against each other. So choosing either of those folds, I am going to go ahead and start the timer and talk a little bit about fascia. And I didn't do like an all-encompassing thing. I mostly focused on one very informative article. It was on the Human Kinetics website by Esther Albini. And so all this information is from Esther Albini. I just want to make sure I credited her. So connective tissue is everything that binds and connects. And there's a couple definitions that are given throughout the course of the article. It's a 4-dimensional network that wraps around and separates every part of the body, creating a structural continuity that gives shape and function to all tissues and organs. And another snippet was extremely dense 4-dimensional web with no beginning or end, and separates or connects and gives shape to everything. It's a semi-transparent network that starts from the skin and thickens into fibrous tissues that surround muscles, bones, and internal organs. And this fact really caught me off guard. It accounts for 20% of our body weight. So it's really a substantial amount, because sometimes I think about fascia as there's the metaphor of the orange or the clementine, and then the outside, the orange part is the skin, and then you peel back the skin, and underneath there's that white fuzzy part, and that's the fascia. But it also is threaded all throughout all of our muscles, and it's in these different bundles that are then in these other different bundles. It's almost like the casing of a sausage. Like that's kind of what it's doing. It's communicating, and it's also providing form, which is also what the white part of a orange is doing. It's keeping all the pulp inside of the orange a specific way. And then it acts as an external nervous system that processes and responds to sensory and mechanical stimuli. And fascial tissue is found throughout the body, surrounds and permeates blood vessels, nerves, organs, bones, muscles, various layers, and it's found at different depths. And there's a lot of, like, it's hard to really categorize because there is so much variation in fascia. And there are 3 layers, and if you take a peek at my Instagram, or maybe I'll actually post the picture in the chat at the end of class, but there's 3 layers that wrap around the whole muscle. And the first layer is called the epimysium, and the second layer is the paramysium. It covers the bundles of muscle fibers and connects them to form the most abundant fascial tissues in the body. And we are at our halfway mark. And it is a mobile layer that allows muscles to slip inside its casing. So that's the paramysium. And then the third layer is the endomysium, and it surrounds every muscle cell, creating an individual unit. It is arranged in tubes that wrap around every muscle fiber. Every muscle is connected to its adjacent muscles and communicates with them through fascia. Fascia separates, gives shape, and communicates. And then it also talked about the functions of fascia. It's a placeholder for the muscles. It's the receptors responsible for our perception of the body, and are up to 6 times more abundant in fascia than in the muscles. It, of course, impacts flexibility. The fascial tissue network connects everything together. It affects our quality of movement and range of motion. It affects the transmission of kinetic muscle energy. And then also it provides defense. Fascia plays a defensive role from an immunological perspective. In fact, our body's immune system relies on the quality of our fascia. And so healthy fascia would be really wet and moist and lubricated. It would very easily move. And dry connective tissue or fascia would be dry, and then it wouldn't be able to perform its functions going on in the cell. And so I will definitely stop talking about fascia because maybe that was just like too much information. But that's what we're accessing right now is our fascia and connective tissue. And I think the more knowledge that we have, kind of the more empowered we are. So just really thinking about, because I do think about sometimes like just my quadricep as my quadricep and my psoas is my psoas. And I have to remember that everything is all threaded together and they're connected through fascia. And we are at our final minute. And very intentionally unfurling the spine, lifting the chest. You can send the arms behind you. An option to come into this form of tabletop as a form of release with the torso face up and the head falling back, pressing the palms into the mat. Or you can extend the legs long or really just do like whatever the body's asking for, any counter movement after a long fold like that. Invite it into your practice. And then we'll meet on our bellies. And one of my favorite shoulder postures is crocodile. And the other day I was practicing crocodile, but I bent my arm like cactus arms. And it was a totally different sensation for me. And it was actually a lot more challenging. So if you get into this and you're like, I'm just going to practice crocodile, like that's a great posture to be in. But I do want to give this as an option today. So coming all the way down to your bellies and extending out your right arm. I'm actually going to extend my left arm out so you can see. And then bending the left arm. So it's kind of a cactus or a goalpost shape. Bringing the left cheek to the mat. And for me, when I practice crocodile, I can usually roll onto the outside edge of my left side body. But when I have my arm bent like this, I can't roll all the way over. It's a little more constricted. So kicking the right leg behind you and then stopping where your range of motion puts your edge. And we'll be here for 3 minutes on this side. And if it becomes too much, always option to extend the left arm out straight and then roll all the way to the outside edge. I'm going to go ahead and set our timer. And it's moments like this where I really miss seeing bodies in the room, but hopefully everybody has finagled their way into this awkward and mildly uncomfortable posture, or pretty uncomfortable, honestly. And in yin, we do practice being with discomfort. We never want to experience pain, but that kind of achy, dull sensation is actually something that we are accessing in this practice. So turning towards that. And we're not going to be here for very long, just 3 minutes. We're at the halfway mark. And final minute. And flattening the belly back down to the earth. Moving slowly back towards center. Maybe kind of taking some circles with the arm, rocking the shoulder. And then coming into Sphinx pose before we move on to the other side. So bringing the forearms in front of you, flattening them to the ground, and then finding the degree of permanence in your practice that you want to find. The intention here is to compress the lower back. And so if there's pinching, it might be helpful to create more distance in between the arms, lowering the chest a little bit. And if you aren't feeling any compression at all in the lower back, you could also put like blocks under the forearms, because that would elevate you up just like a little bit higher. And we'll be in Sphinx pose for 3 minutes. And then for the final minute, you can stay in Sphinx or option press up into seal. And the head can really be anywhere. The head can hang and kind of fall forward. You can rest your chin upon your hands, kind of like you were watching TV. Or you can also rest your forehead on a block or anything that you have laying around in your apartment or home. And also, if ever becomes too much in the shoulders, you can put a pillow under the um, under your elbows, because it's not about the elbows; it's about the lower back. And we're at the halfway mark. And this is the final minute. So, option to stay here or option to press yourself up into seal. For steel, press the palms into the mat and actively lift your chest. Fingertips kind of go towards the corner of your mat. You could experiment with walking the palms backwards and kind of seeing it's like a little mermaid Ariel moment with the chest pressing upward, but just finding an edge that feels interesting. And if it's you get up here and you're like, oh my God, why? Always, of course, option to come back onto the belly. And then lowering all the way down. And we will practice this crocodile variation on the left side. So extending the left arm out and bending it like a goalpost, bringing the left cheek to the mat. You can press the right palm into the mat and then slowly kick the right leg behind you. And you don't have to roll all the way onto the outside edge of the left side of your body, just finding a degree that you're gonna feel the posture. If you're feeling it, you're doing it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get our timer started here. Knowing that the sides might be different. You might have more range of motion on the side, or it might be a little tighter. We're definitely not symmetrical creatures, even if sometimes it feels that way. Halfway. And final minute. And slowly lowering the belly down. And for me, that release feels super tender. So taking your time, maybe rolling the arm out, rocking the shoulders, and then pressing up into a tabletop and coming to lay on your back. And we're going to work into a version of um, half saddle. And so everyone come to, and make sure if you have a block or something nearby, try to grab that right now. And then head to laying down and walk the heels in towards the glutes. Like your heels could graze the tips of your fingers. And then also move the feet to the outermost edge of your mat. And we're gonna start with the right side. So I'm actually gonna lay this direction so you can see. And from here, bend the right knee and bring the right foot and leg behind you. And this is definitely gonna bring a lot of attention into your quad. And so right now, if it's feeling like too much, option to grab a pillow and place it under the knee. And then also taking a moment to assess where you would like your foot to be. So the foot can be on the outside edge. That might feel more accessible to you. Or you might want to be on the top of your foot. And this is honestly, this is plenty for me in my practice. But if you wanted to add another layer on, you can bring the left ankle on top of the right thigh to kind of weight it down. And since I have the pillow under my knee, it's not quite as intense as if I was doing it without the pillow. So definitely using props when you need them and really honoring this edge, kind of being with discomfort, but never entering into pain territory. And we are going to be here for 4 minutes. And if the mind becomes super loud, allowing yourself to focus on your breath and the physical action. You can even put a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly and feel the rise and the fall of the breath and the beating of your heart. That can be where you center your awareness. And another option, which I didn't mention, is you also could put pillows underneath your back as well, or a bolster. Really honoring the knee. We never want to stretch the knee. This is definitely more about the muscles in the leg. So if you're feeling too much intensity in the knee, um, grabbing some pillows and modifying as you see appropriate. We are at our halfway mark. And final minute. Notice if the mind wanders. Try to bring it back. And don't chastise yourself if it did wander. Non judgmental awareness. Okay, and slowly make your way out of this posture and bring the right knee around and back towards center. It might feel good to extend the leg, kicking it out in front of you. Take infinity loops in the hip sockets. And before moving on to the other side, you can also roll up the ankle. We're going to take a supine pigeon. And for supine pigeon or figure four, left leg is already planted on the ground. And then bring right ankle on top of left thigh bone. And this can be enough of an external rotation of the hip. Um, there's always the option of threading the fingers behind the left thigh or on top of the left shin, which in my practice definitely brings a lot, like lights up a lot more of my body, but it's also it's kind of active. And I was thinking, since we're all at home, you could also finagle your way over to a wall or a bookcase or shelf or whatever, and then that would be the pressure going into the leg, and so you didn't have to create as much resistance with your arms. So option to do that as well. And we're going to do this one as for 4 minutes before we switch to the other side. And coming back to those qualities of deep listening and receptivity and existing and being with what is the current reality, the right here, the right now, and coming back again and again to noticing. And we're at the halfway mark. Final minute. And I've chosen to take a bind with the hands, letting that go, and placing the right foot back down on the mat. Or if you've moved to a shelf like I did, giving yourself the time to come back to your mat for the left side where we're going to practice half saddle. And also taking any necessary counter movement here. It might feel good to windshield the wiper the legs, right to left to right. This is one of my favorite counter poses because you practice internal and external rotation at the same time. You can like really see it going on. And then coming to lay on your backs. And we'll go ahead and do the half saddle and grabbing any necessary props that you might need for this side. Getting yourself situated, laying back. And this time, bending the left knee and bringing left ankle towards the pelvis. And choosing where you'd like the foot to end up. Maybe top of the foot feels appropriate to have down. Maybe in your practice, it feels a little bit better to be on the outside edge of your foot. And if you liked having a pillow under the left knee, or if you wanted to put a pillow under your back as well, sometimes that's going to be super helpful. Here, I'll do both. Okay. So getting yourself situated. And then I'm going to go ahead and set the timer. Always option to put right ankle on top of left quad. It's going to add to the intensity of the stretch. Which is not always necessary. to be at the most intense form. So if you do try that out and then you want to discard it, you are more than welcome to do that at any point. Hi. And if the mind has kind of kicked into overdrive and it's becoming very loud, coming back to the idea of the body scan, sending the awareness to your heart and the belly and noticing the breath. And it can be a very intentional breath, it can be a counted breath, or it can just be the natural rhythm of your breathing, the rise and the fall of the belly. And we are at the halfway mark. And final minute. And if you put the right ankle on top of the left thigh, go ahead and plant the right foot back down. And slowly moving with intention, not going too fast, being gentle with the knee. Extend the left leg out, kick it out, extend it. Let that release feel good. Heard it call the echo of the posture, relishing in that sensation. And then we'll do figure four on the back. So right foot is planted on the ground. And go ahead and bring left ankle on top of right thigh. If you liked the up against the wall version, you can go ahead and make your way over to the same spot you were at before, or perhaps finding a different spot, maybe against the couch. And we'll be here for 4 minutes, and then we'll twist and shavasana. And I'm trying not to say too much during these postures. I'm always trying to find the balance between like filling in the space and giving the mind something to be occupied with. But also, I think posers have the capacity to practice in silence and just be with themselves. So that's kind of the side that I'm erring on. So honoring that and being proud that you're willing to sit with those yin qualities and just be quiet and receptive. We're at the halfway mark. Final minute. And if you thread the fingers up, you can go ahead and release that. Take the left leg from on top of the right, plant it back down on the earth. And if you've moved to the wall or a couch or a bookshelf, coming back to the mat. And we're going to do a twist on each side for just a minute and then head into Shavasana. So coming to lay on your backs, extend the left leg out long and hug the right knee in towards your chest. Give it a good squeeze, feeling the compression. You can roll the ankle towards the right and then towards the left. And then with the left hand, guide the right leg over towards the left and send the right arm out like half of a T. And your gaze can follow your fingertips. If that's going to cause strain in your neck, let the gaze be up and utilizing this last bit of class here, especially this twist, to relax. So if the forehead and eyebrows are furrowed, trying to relax them, or if the jaw is tight, trying to slacken the jaw. That's a big one for me. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the belly. Anywhere you hold habitual tension, trying to bring a sense of ease there. And hug the right knee in towards your chest. Give it a good squeeze. And then send the right leg out long. And hug the left knee in towards your chest. You can oscillate the ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. Bring the knee towards the armpit. And then with your right hand, guide the left leg towards the right side, coming into a gentle supine twist. Left arm can go out like half of a T. And again, gaze can go that direction, but the intention here is really to relax and to have the muscles soften. And if there is any residual anxiety, trying to let that dissolve or dissipate, or you can even like flick your fingers, kind of flick it off. Softening the forehead and the jaw, removing the tongue from the roof of your mouth. And bring knees back towards center and come into a cannonball shape Apanasana. You can wrap the arms around the shins, embracing yourself or perhaps on a quality that you're attracting into your life right now. And then releasing into Shavasana, final rest. And Shavasana can be taken on your back, it can be taken in more of a fetal position. If you're at home, you can do legs up the wall, or you can also practice Shavasana on your belly. And I'll let you know when it's time to come up and out of the practice. We will be here for a couple minutes. And like we were doing in class with each of our mini meditation, trying to keep the awareness threaded on the heart and the sensations going on in the body. Maybe you're focusing again and again on the blood coursing through your veins, or the breath, the rise and fall of the belly, or the air coming in through your nostrils and then being expelled back out, kind of that cyclical process, but using that mindfulness of the body scan to keep you present, or utilizing your own practice, whatever it is. And slowly begin to invite subtle movements back into the body, gentle wiggling or bouncing. Extend the arms above you like you would stretching in the morning, and hug the knees towards your chest. And choose if you'd like to roll to the left, still cultivating this more yin and lunar practice, or if you want to roll to the right, more solar active qualities, more motion. And remembering you're not bound to either of those qualities. We're always kind of looking to have both of them, a balance in life. And using the bicep like a pillow, coming into a fetal position. And extending gratitude to yourself for showing up and cultivating qualities that really go against the grain of society and a lot of the expectations that are placed upon individuals, I think, from the get-go, from very young, and for honoring these qualities of yin, of receptivity and listening, and looking to nurture and cultivate them and also doing something extremely good for your body, your bones, your fascia, all the connective tissue, and honoring your process, your experiences, your teachers, also my teachers who have taught me, and I can then share this wisdom with you. They come in many forms as well. And you can gently press yourself up to a seat. You can always keep the eyes closed or open them back up. And anchoring the tail down, letting the spine spring up. Coming back to the same seat we found at the beginning of class. And we'll bring hands to meet at heart center in the Anjali Mudra. And mudra means gesture, and Anjali is emblematic and symbolizes non-dualism. So the coming together of oppositional forces, the meeting of the yin and the yang. And bringing hands from heart center to third eye, strengthening connection between the wisdom of your hearts and the integrity of the mind and the imagination, your intuition, and bowing forward to seal in your practice, honoring the darker qualities, the shadowy parts of ourselves, and also the bright and the more luminous side of ourselves. For all of it is valid. Thank you, peace, and namaste. And I've been joined by my little assistant right here. Kind of blends right into the mat. I'm gonna unplug this mic and you can all unmute yourselves. And if you would like to stick around for a final that would be great.